John Marks here, Montgomery County Tea Party. It is Saturday, November 1st, and with me are Luis Pedraza, Larry Rogers, Bob Bagley, and Kenneth Ernest, and we are going to interview Martin Etwop this morning. Welcome.
Thank you. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Appreciate you coming in and for answering our questionnaire. Martin, as we discussed, if you want to take up to 5 minutes with your opening while you're running for the office and whatnot, and then we'll kind of get into the Q&A around the table based on the questionnaire that you answered for us. So the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. 5 minutes a lot, man. So, thanks for having me here, and I appreciate the opportunity. And like you said, my name is Martin Etwop, and yes, I'm running for U.S. Congress. And the reason why I'm running is I always tell people I do have 4 kids, and I sometimes say I'm running selfishly to guard the future for my kids. And as someone who came to this country almost 19 years ago as a missionary, and from one of those places that Trump called the whatever whole country, I see today in America we are trying to accept some of those same things that destroyed my home country and all the countries around South America. Europe is going right now. I can't afford to sit back and your clock is turned off or something.
Oh.
I can't
Go
afford.
ahead, sorry.
No worries. I can't afford to sit back and just watch this great nation that I love go down the drains. I call myself the ultimate American dream. I came here with nothing, and today I practice constitutional law. I hold the government accountable, from elected officials to anybody who's appointed in government. I hold them accountable. I was in a meeting with the Attorney General's office 2 days ago about an issue, and so that's my dream. It's been, I could say it's almost been fully accomplished. But after attaining my American dream, how about my kids' future? How about my kids' dreams? Seems like nobody cares for them, and if nobody's really fighting for them, it is my job. I mean, I'm their parent, to fight, defend their rights, to defend their future, instead of living them the American nightmare, which looks like that's where we're headed with $37 trillion debt that you and I are not going to pay for this. My kids going to pay for that. I can't just sit back. Where our elected officials are not accountable to anybody. We have a government shutdown because people are busy squabbling over I don't know what. Yet our veterans, our people who are serving in the military right now, they are not getting paid. Members of Congress are being paid. And no, it seems like members of Congress are not talking about that. They are more concerned about their connections with, I don't know, with the people with their donor class than the veterans sleeping on the streets. They're more concerned about sending money to Iraq, Afghanistan, sending money to Ukraine, to Germany, to everywhere else, while we have our people who served with honor sleeping on the streets. Nobody seems to care about them. And so I felt I could be that voice for them, voice for the American people that nobody seems to care for them. And that's why I chose to run. I chose to run because I feel like our Judeo-Christian values are not being defended anymore. People are content with what we have. People are happy with where we are. But in the process of being happy, the Bible says, I'm a big believer in what the Bible says, come out, because I'm a Christian. But when the foundations are shaken, what shall the righteous do? Do we get down and be content with what we have while our foundations are being broken? No. I can't sit back and watch the foundations get destroyed. People misinterpreting what our founding fathers believed for this country. And that's why I'm running for Congress. Why? Because I believe I am the only one in this race who actually understands what's at stake, and I have what it takes to stand and say, hey, not on my watch. Been there, done that. Been shot at, been screamed at, been done all these things in one of the worst countries in the world. Who else can scare me anymore? Not even the members in DC can do that, bully or intimidate. So because of that, I am the only one in this race who will actually stand and say, hey, it's not about you, it's not about me, it's about America, it's about our kids' futures. And that's why I'm running for Congress. Because it's a scary world out there. It's scary. So I believe that with the support of the Tea Party and everyone else out there, we can restore our nation back. It starts with the CD2, starts with Texas, and then it goes all out. I mean, we need strong men and women who are willing to build and activate more and more people, like-minded people in the race. And I believe I can do that, activate people who know that there's someone who stands with them and believes with them. And so I ask for your support, and thank you again for letting me be here today. I appreciate it.
Sure, thank you. All right, let me set this.
Hey
reset
John,
this
look,
time.
I have a bigger one.
You do? Okay, go
Let
ahead.
me show you.
Go ahead. So while he's
How many
setting
minutes?
up,
How many
yeah,
minutes?
go ahead.
No, how many
Two.
minutes? Two.
So you'll have up to 2 minutes as we discussed
Yes, sir.
earlier. So Louis, get that set up.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
What in your opinion, as far as immigration, it took Governor Abbott about 3 years to get on board with that when the rest of us were screaming at the time. Biden was opening the gates and letting everybody through Texas borders. Why did it, any idea why it took Abbott 3 years before getting serious about securing our border? Is there something that the state could have done because we were being invaded when the federal government would not step up under Biden?
Yeah, why Biden? Sorry, why Abbott took so long? Because after Biden forsook Texas, I couldn't tell, but I can speculate that problem is we have so many people attorneys, constitutional attorneys out there who all have differing opinions based on their interests and based on what they think is good for them. Could be Abbott was worried about what those attorneys were going to say. Could be he was getting poor advice, or could be he was just too afraid to rattle the cage, because you need to be at a point where you're saying, hey, my people are suffering. You've neglected them, and as a leader, you're saying, I don't care what you do to me. I'm gonna do what's right for my people. I don't know whether that's what Abbott was afraid of, being intimidated by DOJ. I don't know. But when he eventually did what he needed to do, a good friend of mine, Jonathan Volhan, he was talking about this from prior, that, hey, the governor needs to do this, the governor needs to do that. And it took 2 years after people were already saying this for the governor to do that. So I don't know whether it has to do with money or being afraid to rattle the cage or not caring enough. I don't know. But going forward, at least he made the right decision eventually.
Well, could you have done something? Had you been in Congress to persuade him to shut down borders?
Yes, I could have. I could have said, this is what the Constitution, like laid out what the Constitution says. I mean, he's an attorney, he knows that. But beyond just laying out what the Constitution says you as the governor, you're delegated authority. You're empowered with the duty to protect and defend your people in Texas. And as long as people were rallying around him, knowing that the congressman is around him, the state legislators around him, I'm sure he would have done the right thing. But it takes having people who are going to stand with him. I know the current congressman actually was opposed to the governor doing this. And maybe if he's opposed to that, maybe then the governor is like, oh, if people are opposing me, then I might not. So I don't know whether that was the reason why, but yeah, that's what I would do.
Time's up.
Sorry.
That's all right.
No, you good.
You have the follow-up question, so I should have already started it.
Yep.
My question, I'm really big on election integrity.
Yes, sir.
I really think that should be our number one issue to address.
I agree.
So on election integrity, you answered the three areas that are susceptible to fraud, and what can the federal government do about it? So, and really, that still goes back. Do you have any specific items you would look at in election integrity?
Yeah, one of the big issues on election integrity is the mail-in ballots. You know, I believe we should get rid of mail-in ballots. And you know that people always say, oh, people who are serving abroad, people in foreign countries, we have embassies. At the military bases, we could have a polling location at the base. So everybody votes on the first Tuesday in November. And there's no early voting, there is no mail-in ballots, and the election day is a public holiday. So everybody goes votes on one day. I mean, even the third world countries do that. They count the ballots. Actually, they go vote and count, and when it's done, they cheat the elections, but it's done after the results are. But everybody knows what the results are. That's something that we need to work on. Secondly, in addition to early voting, like mail-in ballots, we need to have everybody, you know, President Trump is trying to get this done, voter ID. Mm-hmm. When you're going to the ballots, you need to identify yourself, and we should stop having these things like New York is giving IDs that say that no name because they're illegal immigrants in the country. We should say, for you to have an ID, you have to produce a document that shows that you are a U.S. citizen. And if you're not a U.S. citizen, they should have an ID that clearly says, whether you're a green card or visa holder, that says not U.S. citizen. So then when you're going to vote, you present your ID that says you're a U.S. citizen and you can vote. That will get rid of all this, the craziness, and it's unbelievable the way the system is built right now.
It's built for cheating.
Yeah, it's built for, because they know that that's the only way that thugs can be in charge of the country.
I'm clear.
Okay, our questionnaire, one of the questions was, do you support or oppose specifying that parents have the right to exempt their children from mandated immunizations on philosophical grounds? Current laws exempts to medical and religious reasons, and you support or oppose, and you said yes, you do feel. Could you explain a little bit of that for us?
Yes, sir. Thanks, Larry. You know, from the beginning of time, parents were created as the people to lead their. You know, the Bible says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he shall not depart from him." It's not the job of the government to train our children. It's not the job of CPS or the education system. It's my job as a parent to train up my 4 kids on the ways of God and the ways of America. So yes, I believe that whether it's medical, whether it's educational, the parent, that's their primary responsibility to train up their child. So that means, I'm not even in for saying I need to go to the government to give me an exemption for my kids. 2, it's unfortunate that we have to go through that route, but it should be, hey, you know what's good for your kid. You don't think your kid should go to school today? You want to homeschool your kid? You think your kid shouldn't take this job because now it's been proven to be wrong? Government should not be the one telling your parent, it's your number 1 responsibility. And how do I go to God and say, hey, I was afraid of the government, so I let my kid be mutilated because I was scared of what the government will do. So yes, it's my job, and I believe elected officials should be advocating for power going back to the parents. If the parents screw up, then we hold them accountable. If the parent does something that harms their child, poisons their child, or anything like that, or rapes their child, then we hold them accountable. But if they're not doing any harm to their kids, the parent parent is the one who's called upon to lead their kids.
Right.
And that's what I believe.
Okay, all right, Bob?
As you mentioned when you started off, this is a country formed on Judeo-Christian principles. We're seeing an influx of illegal immigration over the past 4 years, and we are now seeing Islam taking over parts of our country with Sharia law. What can you do as a congressman to stop this, or would you?
So Sharia law is not the law of the land.
You're good. Sorry.
The law of America is our U.S. Constitution and the laws that Congress writes. The Constitution says those are the supreme laws of the land. The Constitution and any other law written in support of that. Plus, of course, in Texas, our Texas Constitution and our state constitutions, our state ordinances and statutes are what control. So having Sharia law that goes against, not just against our Judeo-Christian values, but against the very basic of what the Constitution says, that this is the supreme law of the land. That is itself illegal. We shouldn't have any region, any state, any community that applies any other law other than our supreme law of the land. You know, again, I was talking about Europe. The reason why they're gone right now is because they start having all these different laws. Oh, you are from Asia, you can apply your law. You're from the Middle East, you can apply Sharia law. We can't do that. We have one law of the land, the U.S. Supreme Court, the U.S. Constitution, and we shouldn't have anything else. And people who are advocating or who are supporting these laws should be held accountable, should be arrested and prosecuted for undermining our Constitution. So anybody who supports and starts implementing laws that are counter to our Constitution, they're rebelling against our Constitution. They're basically, that's a treasonous act. So they should be prosecuted for doing that. That's just my opinion.
I don't have time for follow-up. I'll do it later.
Hey Martin, so mine's gonna be about money.
Okay.
The federal government is 38, I'm looking at the Department of Treasury website right now. We are $38 trillion in debt. We are running a $1.78 trillion deficit this year on our budget.
Mm-hmm.
We're spending 23% of the money right now. This is what has been spent 2025. 23% on Social Security, 14% on Medicare, and 14% on healthcare. That's 51% of the budget right there. And then on top of that, we're doing another 14% just to keep up with the interest payments.
Mm.
Everything I'm reading says that in about 2031, 2032, the amount of people in the U.S. that are paying for Social Security and all those things, it will cross. Right now, those costs are being covered. After about, in just a few more years, that's going to cross, and there's not going to be enough people in the workforce to pay for all of these things. How are you going to fix this?
That's a good question. Here's the
There's
thing.
There's going to be some tough decisions that are going to have to be made, and this can keeps getting kicked down the road because no one wants to handle it.
Yes.
And one of the ways that this country could come to a demise is it goes bankrupt.
Yep.
So, get to Congress, what are you going to do?
Here's the thing. We call ourselves a capitalist state, which means I invest my money, and so basically I look for what's good for me, and I spend my resources and my money into that. Why is the government forcing you and I, people in the workforce, to go and invest their money into the government, saying, hey, we'll hold it for you for your future? Let the people choose where they invest their money, whether it's for their medical benefits or for their welfare benefits down the road. We shouldn't be having people invest there where the returns might not be able to support the people, then after we do that, well, we're not the returns are not even able to take care of this particular person, let alone everyone else. So the government should just get out of the business of welfare, or what I want to call subsidized investments. So you invest the subsidy is they use that to support someone else. I'd rather you invest your money, your medical benefits, where you think this money can take care of my health down the road. If it doesn't reach, it's your fault, not the government's fault. And the government should get out of, I mean, everybody's afraid when people say government should shut down the welfare things. I say that because it's not the government's job to take care of anybody. The government is to make sure that as Americans, our rights are protected. That's all their job is, to defend our God-given, our constitutional rights, God-given rights, not to start playing into supporting one side over the other. I hope I answered that.
Well, I wanted to know kind of what, I hear you that we want to get the federal government out of that business, but we've got a crisis that's got to be handled, and is that how you're going to handle it? Is that we're going to privatize some of these things? I mean, we're in this boat and it's sinking, and how are we gonna fix this? I love your idea about I love privatizing things and getting the government out of the welfare business, but how are we going to get out of this $38 trillion in debt, 1.78 trillion deficit right now? What do we got to cut something.
Yeah, we do. But even when we're cutting, people have already put money in their I'm sure most of you have already put your money into the government. That's your money. We can't say, unless you choose to say, hey, government, don't give me back my money. It's your money. You invested in that. But anybody who hasn't put in that, the government shouldn't be taking care of that. And we shouldn't be donating or taking care of other nations. We shouldn't be subsidizing foreign countries. That's why we're in this debt. You know, in Germany, you go to school, to college for free, but you pay a lot of taxes, but even the taxes are not enough. So what happens? The US government has to pay for their defense, then they don't pay for that, then they pay for their kids to go to school. We should stop subsidizing Germany's defense, or be the world's financial center, like the world's bank. That's where the world's godfather, if you want to call it.
Okay.
All right. Switching gears back to voter fraud. We talked, I think you indicated that mail-in ballots is the biggest culprit. That's what you'd answered. And you mentioned also that machines are an issue too as well throughout the country. You're probably aware that in the state of Texas, I think the biggest problem that most people had around the country, or at least what the target was Dominion voting machines. We don't use that in the state of Texas. We either use HART, InterCivic, or ES&S. Are you aware of any machine issues with, because ES&S has 60% of the market in Texas, HART has 40. Are you aware of any machine irregularities that have been uncovered in the state of Texas?
In Montgomery County.
Okay, and what were those specifically, and where were they uncovered? Who were they uncovered by, from that standpoint?
So yes, I'm aware. I've had actually during the last presidential elections, because elections are going on, most of attorneys in the state were not willing to take up. Most of the election attorneys, let's say the Harris County GOP attorney and staff, were not willing to be involved in the election issues. So I was getting a lot of, I was made the pseudo election attorney for the state of Texas. I was getting documentation from Collin County, Williamson County, Harris County about what was going on. And even Montgomery County, actually, and for instance, in Montgomery County, I think it was the South County Library, people went to vote, and you type a name, but the name that you selected is not the name that is shown. That happened.
It was on the paper?
No, actually, no.
Or you selected a
Yeah,
name?
you selected a name.
Okay.
Then when
And
you
then a
when you
summary?
turn to verify,
Summary?
it's not the name you selected.
The printout did not match.
Yes. So I knew people who went and said, hey, this is not what I, and they were told this is, sorry that happened, we're gonna refresh the system or something. Some computers were refreshed or whatever to fix that. But if that happened it wasn't just Montgomery County, there was all over the state, there were stories like that. Somebody's like, I went and voted for Trump, but it's not what's selected for me. Or some places where the names they wanted to select were not on the screen. So they couldn't select the candidates. That's a problem. And I always tell people that a computer, I don't care how good the system is, it can be manipulated. Either by the person who wrote the program or who are managing it. You can say I voted for Trump, but I could put an algorithm that says for every one vote that goes for Trump, take 0.2 of that and give it to someone else. It will show you voted, but it won't equal what the final tally is because it took portions of that.
Okay. Bob? If you want to follow on to, oh wait, no, Luis, sorry.
That's good. Yeah,
Sorry.
and talking about the deficit a little bit, what is fundamentally the cause of the deficit? We spend too much money. We don't take enough money and we spend too much money. And you want to privatize some of those pieces like Social Security, and I don't know if this is what you're mad. We pay into Social Security our whole lives and maybe we get that money back, okay? So, and the government manages that for us, invests it, who knows what. But they also print a lot of money through the Fed. And the way they really do it is they have this budget, and if they need more money, they buy
bonds.
They buy bonds,
Treasury,
treasury bonds, and then those bonds become almost valueless because the Fed 2 years ago was buying so many bonds that their value was suspect. Okay, they were just buying all kinds of stuff. The financial picture is not a simple picture. It's very complex. And I think we need somebody to really address the government to really, and Trump's trying to do that, starting with the Fed, but the Fed needs to go and do different things, okay? And I guess my question is, given all that, and Kat kind of alluded to it, is there like something you were thinking, a program or a way to really address that? Because it's not only us, but it's also the Fed and government bonds are big issue. That's how they generate money to pay for these things that we can't pay for. And then and then our debt load is crazy. And does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. And just to add it before I answer, China owns a big chunk of our treasury bonds. So if they wanted to collapse America, they'll just dump all those bonds.
That's what they're concerned about. Yes.
So, the whole balanced budget amendment that's been going on that people have talked about for a while.
Yes.
I'm a very big proponent of that.
Okay.
If this is how much money you're bringing in, this is how much you should spend.
Right. Balance your budget.
You shouldn't be able to, out of thin air, create money which you have to pay back for, or which my kids or grandkids have to pay for. So we need to, as a federal government, we need to balance our budget.
So would you try to create a law to do that?
So
Because that's the only way it's going to happen.
So I'm gonna be, even when I ran the first time, I said I was for a balanced budget amendment, which would be part of the Constitution.
Okay.
Meaning that we pass a legislation and we put it in our law of the land that the government cannot spend beyond its means. You can't go to borrow unless you have stuff to pay back for. We can't do that. We can't keep mortgaging our kids' future every single time because the Fed can't print as much money. They got rid of the pennies, but they're gonna print something else. We can't do that.
Okay. So yeah, a balanced budget would be the solution to that. So many people have talked about that. It seems like a hard thing, very hard thing to do.
It is hard, but here's the thing. If members of Congress start talking about it, then members of the public become loud about it. Maybe we can do it. But oftentimes, people talk and stop talking until the next election. Can we have something where we carry on the conversation over and over and over until it becomes the main conversation for the country?
Can I tag onto that? Would you be willing then to support the bill or write the bill?
Yes, sir. I'd be willing to co-sponsor, draft the legislation that would call for balanced budget amendment. Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Larry.
One of our questions was, do you support or oppose efforts to abolish the Department of Education? Why or why not? And what is the most valuable components of the department? Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
So yes, I'd support getting rid of the Department of Education. The DOE has only been here since the 80s? Before that didn't exist. But before the Department of Education existed, America was the number one education, everybody wanted to come to America for education. Now we are not in the top 5. People still come to US institutions, but we don't produce the best education anymore. And that Department of Education getting into the business of trying to educate our children, they're really not helping. They're just intimidating parents on where they want. They're basically, the DOE is an indoctrination department. And so I'm for abolishing the DOE. I'm for returning education back to the states and beyond the states to the parents. I'm for, like I said earlier, the mother and father, that's their job to train up their child. They know what the past look like and what the future is going to look like, and they need to equip their children to face what's coming up. That's the job of the parents. So the DOE should be eliminated. Actually, I've been working with a group in Texas around the state, like from before Trump came in office, and it was part of the America First from Trump's department that try to put things in place for when DOE gets scrapped. And we were trying to start something in Texas that could be a national, not we're going to force other people in the nation to do that, but want to have a model that others can be like, yeah, no, this works great. And because we believe that education should go back to where it belongs, with the families, with the parents, with the community, not the federal government.
Thank you.
So there was a question here. Do you support or oppose withdrawing the U.S. from the World Trade Organization? And you said yes. Is that a support or oppose it?
Sorry, I wasn't clear on that. Yes, I support withdrawing the U.S. from that. And the reason why we need to withdraw the U.S. because our nation shouldn't be trading or running based on the decision of some bureaucrats in the Netherlands, in Switzerland, or in even New York City, or somewhere in London. Who we choose to trade with, how we trade, should be based on what's good for America. So whether it's the World Trade Organization, whether it's United Nations, whether all those organizations that have for so long being carried on by America. So America is like the UN is over here, the World Trade Center organization is over there, the NATO is over. So we are like balancing the whole world's weight. Why? Because we think we have all the resources, unlimited resources to take care of the whole world. We don't have that. We have kids who can't afford a meal. Or we have veterans on the streets. Recently, actually in Europe right now, the European Central Bank and is telling Italy, you can only spend this much, you have to do. Now, the World Trade Center, the World Trade Organization, the IMF, they're gonna, the World Bank, they'll say, hey, United States, you need to spend this much on this issue, you need to spend. Nobody should be telling America. Our Congress and our people should be the one who determine what we spend our money on. And if membership into these organizations determine how we spend our money or how we function as a nation, then we don't belong in those institutions. We belong in America, fighting for America, defending the American families and the American people, and building jobs and building our nation for America. Then, if there are fringe benefits that fly over to the other nations, good for them. But we don't live for the other nations. We live for America.
Well, Martin, I've got a very granular question, so I'll apologize in advance. It will apply maybe to other folks too, but the U.S. Immigration Policy Manual, Chapter 2, says specifically membership or affiliates with certain organizations. A person is subject to revocation of naturalization if the person becomes a member or affiliated with the Communist Party, other totalitarian parties, or terrorist organizations within 5 years of being naturalized. A specific question, but then a broader stroke. George Soros is a naturalized citizen, I believe, within 5 years. Mandani, who is, I think I'm pronouncing his name, who's running for mayor of New York City, is a recently naturalized citizen. Where would you stand on revoking citizenship of people that belong to the Communist Party? As a member of the U.S. House, is that something you would push?
Yes. I mean, it's been in our laws. Even when you're coming to the U.S., they ask you if you're a member of the Communist Party.
Right.
Why? Because they don't want members of the Communist Party to come to America. So if for some reason they were able to sneak into the country, and they became citizens, that should be revoked. But if they snuck into the country and became members of the party after they came into the country, within the past 5 years, they still should, their citizenship should be revoked and sent back. Because how do we know that they just became members? Couldn't it be that they were already doing that prior? And this is just now they waited for this period of time before they publicly came out? So, yes, if Mamdani or Soros or anybody was a member of the Communist Party within the past 5 years or 5 years from when they became citizens, their naturalization should be revoked and they should be sent back to where they came from. Hungary or Uganda, India, or wherever, that should happen.
Okay. Follow unrelated question. So we had, during the last election, or just prior, we had over 30 U.S. intelligence officers come out and say that this whole Hunter Biden thing was a hoax and it's Russian misinformation. Well, it's since come out very clearly that it was not. And these intelligence officers, over 30 of them, so far, I mean, there are some things going on. What's your stance on that? Do you believe that was election interference? And if you do, what do you think these folks should stand? Should they be indicted?
Yeah, I believe that was election interference, especially when they knew that this factor that Hunter Biden had. Actually, I got access to that because of a case that we're helping with. But these people, I don't care what rank you have in the intelligence community. That's almost treasonous. You're trying to overthrow a government. You're trying to put like, you're trying to balance the scale. Actually, not. You're trying to put weight on the scale to determine. Your job as intelligence officials is to make sure we know of all the threats coming to America, not try to determine who becomes president, who doesn't. And so, yeah, they need to be indicted and they need to go to jail. The DOJ should be doing that right now, filing charges.
Thank you.
I want to go back to the machine
Yes,
fraud
sir.
that you said you think happened here in Montgomery County. Are there affidavits out there that were made by these folks that made the claims?
I have some affidavits from Harris County.
Okay, what about Montgomery County?
Montgomery County, no, I did not get affidavits on that.
Okay.
It was one of those that people just, they're like, oh yeah, my people talking about it, and then they went to the election judge, and the judge is like, yeah, okay, let's make the call and see what's going on, and then they're like, come, let's go to that other machine. So yes, that happened.
And I can tell you, some of the election judges were even saying, no, you just punched it wrong, go back and redo it, and people, you know, unless you were 100% sure, and you can't take a picture of what you're punching, you know.
Right.
That to me,
Well, and people do punch them wrong.
Yeah.
Being an election judge, I've seen that.
yeah, so that's, I know that did come up in where I was working, and the judge, and the judge said, no, I just did it wrong. A lady came out and talked about it, so.
Right.
So the affidavits I have are from election, the early voting election people. I forget what they're called, like the people who are helping with elections.
Clerks?
Yeah, the election clerks, and so I have like 6 or 7 from Harris County. People who are involved in the early voting election. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's aside from the fact that they ran out of paper
Yeah.
conveniently in
And-
Republican districts and
Yeah, no,
and
actually,
all that.
this was they ran out of paper in the previous election. This is the most recent election where
Right, November. Yeah, that was back in the primary.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so, you know, all these, all the folks that you're running against are Republicans right now because it's a Republican primary, and they all claim to be conservative. What separates you from them?
That's a good question. I won't say I know what their convictions are, so I won't say I can't tell whether I know most of the ones I've talked to. Yes, I can tell they've been involved in the Republican Party. So yes, to me, I would say they're Republicans. But what separates me from these people is I'm running not for title. I'm running not even because I think I would be the best candidate of all. I'm running because I believe that the stakes are so high right now, and I understand the stakes more than all the other people running. I believe that in this race, I mean, there are people who are running who've been in elected office for a while, and that's great. And after being in elected office for a while, I would assume they understand what's at stake, but the decisions being made does not tell me that they do. And if the decisions don't tell me they do, we need a change from that. And I'm running because I believe that having watched from the outside, having come out from a place that, and I see where we're going now, I understand what's at stake better than anyone else running. And because of that, I am willing to say that if after my first term I don't do what I said I would do, vote me out, because then I would have lied to you. To me, that is to show that I'm not running because I want to hold a title or have a fame or something. I'm running because I'm scared for my kids' futures.
Okay, thank you, Louise. I think we got time for one more.
My issue is make America healthy again.
Yes.
Immunizations, a lot has come out on immunizations. You're getting mercury, there's just so much data, and it's sometimes even contradictory.
Yes.
Very contradictory. So I know right now they're trying to address that, but specifically on immunization specifically, would you make that mandatory or not mandatory for the government to do that?
Anything that goes in your body, your body is sacred. So if you want to get a shot or get something in your body, you should be free to do that. But you shouldn't be forced to do something. So no, I would not make it mandatory. We say polio, tuberculosis, and all those things that have been mandatory for so many years. I would say no. Your body is the temple. And you as the person who's managing your temple should have a say on what goes in your body, not the government telling you that. And so I'm against government imposing anything upon the people. That takes away your liberty, your life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That takes away from your Fourth Amendment. The government should. That's a lot of privacy invasion. Because who knows what they're injecting in your body? And then down the road you get sick or you die. They're like, and you can't hold the pharmaceutical companies or the government accountable.
Well,
you die.
Yeah, no, they're not accountable for that. But okay, and not that I disagree with you, but think about this context. So, as a country, we've had these diseases before where millions of people have died in Europe. Millions of Spanish flu killed a bunch of people. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you had proper immunization, maybe that wouldn't have happened. So that was the reason the government stepped in.
Yes.
So I think that, don't you think there's a balance or not?
So the government should be able to explain to people, hey, this is a killer. It's killed this many people in Europe. It's killed this many people in North Dakota.
Okay.
So in Texas, please, we urge you. The government shouldn't be sending the military or the police to arrest you so they can stick something in you. The government should be advocating and showing you all the reasons why. Then, as an American, with this God-given ability to judge what's good and what's bad for you, you say, yes, I believe you, what you're doing is for my good, and I'll do it freely. But you can't force me. But yes, I think it's good.
Okay, thank you. Larry?
Along that same line, when I grew up, we had to get tetanus shots. We had 5 shots. And now we had a lady speak at one of our Tea Party meetings, and they're given, it's mandatory to give your children to enter school. What was it, 20 or 30?
It's a whole lot more.
Yeah,
a lot more.
60-something, yeah.
Now, let's take polio, for example. We required polio shots.
Yeah, I got some.
And that was good.
Yeah.
How do you determine if it's good or bad?
That is the question. And if we didn't let the pharmaceutical companies tell us what's good for us, if we didn't let the CEOs of major hospitals say, because they know if every time you give a flu shot, you get payback. If that wasn't the case, then we would have proper research for the welfare of the people. The government's job is to provide, to make sure the welfare is good. Health, safety, and morals of the people. But while doing that, they can't then partner or ally with people whose only interest is profits. So then the government becomes an agent of the pharmaceutical company. How do I trust that? And then the government is simply relying on the research of someone whose only interest is making money. I mean, not that money is bad, but if that's all you're relying on, I come and tell you that, hey, you know very well I want to sell that thing, and now I tell you that is not good. We need to take it out, but my only interest is to sell it. And you believe me because I tell you, I give you the research of that's what's going on right now. So if we go back and let the government say, okay, you were saying polio is bad, let's see the research. Let's also have our independent researchers go and verify this. Then they're like, yes, you're right. Now the government can then go and push for the polio vaccine because they are vetted it, not just relied on somebody whose interest is making money, being wealthy out of the backs of the American people. Now, that's where we are today. That is the problem today. And we can't keep doing that. We can't have the government subsidy, because that's government subsidies basically, forcing you to pay for something which you're not even sure it's good for you. The government is not even sure it's good for them, but because the other people told the government it's good, we can't trust that.
All right, thank you, Bob.
What's your position on having an Article 5 constitutional convention for things like term limits and balanced budget amendment?
I know the constitutional convention. It's a big topic, but I'm a big proponent of constitutional convention. Why? Because the fact that that's put in our constitution, that the people can, with the help of their state legislators and the federal legislator, like call for a convention to amend the constitution. I'm all for that. I call myself a constitutional attorney, and as a constitutional attorney, anything where people are allowed to express themselves and shine light on what they think is good for America. You know, the argument is like, oh, if you do that, then Soros is gonna fund so many people to go to Congress and change that. I'm like, Soros getting 67% of the states or 67% of Congress. That is a bit. I mean, unless the people we send from the state to go represent us were all bought in the whole nation, 30 states. So yes, I'm for a constitutional convention where the people, different states, send people in and say, these 3 issues are our big issues, and that's all you talk about, and then decide we're gonna amend the constitution to either eliminate income tax or put a balanced budget amendment or term limits. Yes, I'm for that.
Okay, but you as a congressman could initiate this stuff without having to have a convention. We could have laws that make the laws requiring it. We've got a problem right now in Texas where our state legislatures failed to do their jobs and pass laws, and now we've got things, referendums that are gonna go on to become constitutional, part of our constitution, which don't belong in our constitution, they belong in laws. And the same thing with this. So I just, we'll talk about it later, but there's,
Yeah, I agree.
if Congress did their job,
yes,
we wouldn't need a constitutional convention.
I agree.
So that's what I'm after. I just want Congress to do their jobs and not have the failure that we've been having, especially locally from our congressmen, where their ratings for following the Constitution are less than 70%.
So I'll follow up on that in a minute. Ken?
I'm gonna try and squeeze these in. Just a couple quick questions. I think it's not if, it's when. Where do you stand when China attacks Taiwan? What would be your stance on that? Would you vote to, as a congressman, to go to war over Taiwan, or leave them to their own fate?
That's a tough one. But here's the thing. America has been in so many wars that we've almost bankrupted America right now. And we want to be in a place where we put pressure on China not to go and attack Taiwan. But if China attacked Taiwan, of course, we want to go back to what's in our national interest. What is in the interest of the American people? Is God going to declare war on China and have a city, let's say Austin or Houston, get hit by what? By whatever China has? Is it in our interest? Because we wanna defend Taiwan. If it's not in our interest to lose thousands of Americans, then no, we don't go to war with China.
Okay. Next question. So, I believe it was in the 1920s, a constitutional amendment was added, and I'm sorry, I don't know the number off the top of my head. It used to be that U.S. senators were elected by state houses.
17.
17? They were elected by state houses. It moved to a popular vote within the state. Where do you stand on that? Is that something you think the state houses should be reverted back to and they get to elect U.S. senators, or is that a popular vote? And then I have one more question if we can squeeze it in.
Yeah, I think we need to go back to where because we elect our state reps, send them to Austin, believing that they are the best of the best, not the best of the best, but the people that they presented the best story to go represent us. And we are believing that the person they're gonna choose from among us or among them is someone that is trustworthy to represent the values of Texas. And you know, when senators before, the way it was done before, when the houses voted for them, they were believed to people who are like established and set in the what, who understood what was important to Texas or to the state, and who were not going to Senate to make money, but to defend the interests of the people. And I believe that our legislators should be able to do that again.
Gotcha.
Because of course, with our broken legislators right now, it's scary. Yeah.
All right, the last question. So, and I don't want to mess up this quote, but it's something to the effect Franklin said, for those that will give up liberty for security deserve neither. Where do you fall on that? I mean, I think it's a zero-sum game. Either you have liberty or you have security. I think that from my point of view, in a way, Martin, the more liberty you have, you do have less security, and vice versa. So, and you talked about the Patriot Act and FISA and all of those things, and that it's an intrusion on our liberty. So I'm just, where do you stand on that? I know it's a very broad question, so where do you stand on that? What's your philosophy there?
I stand on liberty any day. Part of liberty was our Second Amendment, and being able to do what, like as an individual, being able to be free to choose, free to do what is right without being forced by the government, and maybe sacrificing sometimes. That's you know the Bible says it was for freedom that Christ has set us free. So it wasn't for security, it was for freedom. But then if we liberty-minded people come together and hold the people trying to take away our liberty accountable, then even they will be afraid. If there's a lot of liberty-minded people, it will guarantee security. But going for security at the expense of liberty, you won't have any. personal experience. In Uganda, we're told, hey, Idi Amin, so vote for so and so. He's gonna defend your security. Today, the same person was supposed to defend your security. You run against him, you get beat. You have the military like beating people up like crazy because we sacrifice liberty for security. So now Uganda has none.
Time for one question, two parts.
Yes, sir.
To follow on to Bob's, in the Constitutional Convention, who appoints a representative to go to that convention? And do we have just one, and who appoints them? We have two?
You have to.
So who appoints them? Martin.
So,
Martin's question.
we elect our state legislators,
Okay.
and the legislators would elect two people to go represent us at the convention.
Okay, so with the Democrats along with the 26 Republican legislators,
Yes.
would you trust them to appoint the proper representatives after what we just witnessed in the 89th session of the legislature?
No, I wouldn't trust them to do that. But that is why when we're electing members, we need to go beyond how much money did so-and-so raise? Who does so-and-so know? Because that's why we got to where we are. Because we're electing who is so-and-so connected to. So-and-so is saying, oh, elect this person, and then everything is shut down because somebody in office, some high-ranking official has anointed this person so nobody else can run against. Then down 2 months later, you realize, oh shoot, we're elected like the worst snake ever. But if we let the people actually do something like this and find who is the right candidate for them, and then we support those candidates and the candidates go win, we would sweep, like we would, I mean, the Republicans who voted with the Democrats, we could, in this next election, we could take them all out. We could sweep if we organize as the grassroots and not focus on the Trump endorsed so-and-so, the Dan Patrick endorsed so-and-so. We're going to be, who do the people endorse? Who do the people want? And that's the task that the Tea Party has to activate and remind people, hey, this is not about, it's about you are being involved. You are being engaged. It's not about did the governor tell you to vote for so-and-so. It's about in your local community, the governor doesn't live here. You will live here. Who do we think in this community is best for us? Then we won't have what happened in Austin last session.
Unfortunately, it doesn't quite work that way because money talks and money
Yes.
walks. The second part of the question is, you're up, and here's the reality of it. You're up against two big heavyweights in this
Yes, sir.
race. One is raised, actually, according to the FEC reports a month ago, September 30th, one has about 670,000 banked, and the other one has about half of that.
And I have like a fraction of that.
A fraction.
Yeah.
How do you intend to overcome that in that race? And there's more than just the three, y'all, but that's realistically what. Not you don't have to say your game plan, but you know that's a tough order. That's a tough order
Yeah, I agree.
to take on.
I agree. And here's the thing. When David went against Goliath, it was the toughest order. He had 5 little pebbles. He went and picked them. He ran and picked them up. Actually, from his shepherd's thing, he picked one. And this guy was with all the 9 foot with everything around him, and he had a armor bearer. And this little guy, 16, 17-year-old, gets his slingshot and hits right in the space that had nothing. The one little space that wasn't guarded. And that can happen. It's happened before. So what does that mean? We talk to the people. Just tell them, hey, this is where we are, and I'll tell you guys the truth. 2 months ago, I stopped raising money. I stopped making phone calls to raise money. And why did I do that? One day I went to bed and I felt God was like, why are you stressing out? What are you doing? Do you feel this is what I called you to do? If you know this is what I called you to do, why don't you stick to loving the people, being genuine with them, not coming up with stories to make your story look good, and do your part and I do my part. And so, for the past 2 months, I've called 2 people asking for money. And the people I called were people who already told me they're going to give me money. Other than that, I haven't called not a single person asking for money. Not even my father-in-law that could give me money if I wanted to. Because I realized that if I can't tell the people who I am and try to have, I got consultants all over the place. Everybody trying to tell me how to operate. And it's good because that's how politics is always operated. But if we're going to do the same thing over and over, that's how it's always operated, we're going to get back to where we've always been, which is where we are right now. And it reaches a point where I'm like, I'm going to do what I can to fight for my kids, but I'm not going to do it the way everybody's doing it. And because then I'm not any different from anybody else. That's where I am.
All right, if you want to take up to 5 minutes now for your closing, and then we'll wrap it up. Floor is yours.
Oh man, this is the tough part. So yeah, thank you all for, gentlemen. We don't have a lady here today. For giving me this opportunity, and like I said earlier, the future of our kids is at stake. I'm 45 years old. If the Lord calls me now, I'll be like, okay, yes, sir. But then what happens to my kids? Well, I'm hoping that I've trained some enough to know where they need to go. Of course, I have a 2-year-old. You can't train that one yet. But I'm hoping I've trained my 12-year-old to understand. That's why I bring them to Tea Party meetings like every time I come. Because I want them to understand how our country is run, how our nation was meant to operate and how it operates right now. Why? Because, we always say our kids are the future of tomorrow, our kids are the future of right now. And so I want to live in America where they are proud to live in. If my kids went to Europe, I want them to be like, hey, no, that's the best country in the world. If they went to Uganda, I want them to say, I want to go back home because that's the best place to be. I want them to be proud of being Americans. Today, unfortunately, of course, whether it's Republicans or Democrats, we've lost that fire for what America stands for. We've lost that understanding of who we are as a people, of the greatest nation on the planet. That God, in His kindness and wisdom, gave us this great nation to call home, and it's our responsibility, it's our jobs to protect, defend, and fight for this land. And I believe, as someone who's not born here, someone whose experiences American dream, and someone who knows what it looks like being on the other side of the ocean. I believe I'm the best person to guarantee that what we aspire for as America, what our founding fathers fought for as Americans, what we want America to look like, I believe I am the best person to do that. Because I'm the best person who's experienced the other side and know its dangers and know where we need to be. But beyond just being the best person to have experienced that, as a constitutional attorney, I don't like saying that a lot, but lately I've been saying that a lot. I understand what the Constitution is supposed to be read like, and what we read it today, and how our elected officials and how our government are required to operate. And I will hold myself accountable to that standard that our founding fathers set for us. But in the same breath, I will hold my fellow elected people in Congress to that same standard. You know, I would say I don't even know how many people in Congress have read the Constitution. I do not know the U.S. Constitution. But if I go to Congress, the first thing I'm going to do is spend one day, ask other like-minded people to read the Constitution all night. It doesn't change anything, but it makes Americans realize that we are putting our Constitution at the fore of fighting for America again. And that also means that we need people who are accountable to the people, to the people who elected you. So I'll be coming home every 3 months or even less to come and give you a report card. This is what you elected me for. And how did I do? John, you'll be like, hey, you screwed up, man. You can go this way or you're out. And I'll be okay with you saying, hey, we sent you to do ABC. You did not do what we asked you to do. So we promise you we are getting the next person to kick you out, to replace you. And I'll be fine with that because I believe that's how we need to operate as Americans. My time's up. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate the passion, and good luck in your campaign.
Thank you.